Welcome back to episode 86 of the Disorganized Wizard Club podcast. My name is Alex. I'm here as always with Adam.
Hello.
And Cam.
Hey.
And we're a group of auto-based players that play just about anything and everything we can qualify for. We talk about decks, tournament stories, just about anything that you and ourselves get better at Magic.
I got
a stutter.
The look on your face when I took a sec because I was pulling up deck lists and I took a sec to
threw
say
my
hello.
rhythm off.
I threw your rhythm off and just the look of pain on your face when I took an extra second because you were about to be and Cam and you had to pause and you were just oh, I could tell you're come on now.
Can't do that to me, man.
It was so funny.
The system breaks down if you're not on time.
I was pulling up deck lists from the SCG Invitational that was this weekend because I wanted. We were going to talk about it. I was going to talk about some of the stuff from it.
Yeah. So, big weekend last weekend in Magic. You guys went to an RPTQ.
Yeah.
There's GP in Copenhagen, and there was the SCG Invitational as well.
The con now.
Yeah, SCG con,
which seems awesome.
With a lot of weird formats got screen time.
Yeah, no banless modern.
No banless modern, which was just the finals was just
Eldrazi versus
essentially Legacy Miracles. It gets top and counterbalance, I believe, or not counterbalance.
Yeah, it has counterbalance.
Oh yeah, it does. Yeah. So
possibly better. Legacy Miracles.
Yeah, it's insane.
No brainstorm.
Yeah, no brainstorm is why it can't be better.
It's close.
But you get top though.
Yeah, you get yeah. But still, there's times where you draw current Miracles, but there are times where you draw a Terminus and you're even on coverage they were well, that's in his hand now.
Well, you still have Jace.
Yeah.
It's too slow in the middle of Eldrazi winter.
I guess so.
It's too cold out there for the Jace.
Who could have guessed?
That cape isn't warm enough.
Who could have guessed no banless modern would be taken down by the Eldrazi menace?
I have who can.
Jeez.
Yeah, stomped.
Who could have guessed, guys?
Please unban Twin. Didn't even show up. There was also a vintage tournament, which was awesome to watch.
I still haven't looked at any of it.
It was sweet.
Really?
It was a Shops finals, obviously, but there was somebody at one point, Cedric was one of these players was talking about how they probably should have to restrict paradoxical outcome because it's just not fun to play against Storm, whatever, right? Todd Anderson just loses his mind. He's yeah, that's a problem. 4 workshop decks in this top 8. There's 4 shops. Yeah, ban paradoxical outcome though. The one copy in the top 8 that just got smashed by shops. He's yeah, that's the issue because it's not fun. The repeatable Black Lotus land. That's fine though. It was so funny. So that was vintage.
It's vintage, man. You can do whatever you want.
But it was cool to watch it was cool to watch the Grixis Thieves deck play, which was
I didn't watch any of it.
Notion Thief deck Faden in vintage. Notion Thief's insane in vintage versus any of the other 4 preordained, Treasure Cruise, Brainstorm, Ponder decks.
Yeah, okay, I can see that.
When you can ramp out a Notion Thief with a bunch of Moxes.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
The paradox. Do you know how the paradoxical outcome deck works?
Oh, that's the one you just pick up your Moxes and just kind of storm off.
It also plays Mox Opal and stuff too. So it's all in. Yeah.
And
then
what's its win con? Just actual Storm card?
Yeah. Or either it gets Tinker, it plays Tinker, the win con with Voltaic Key, Time Vault, or it can get a Blightsteel. That's a pretty common even in the control decks. The control decks are all just infinite turns and then removals. That's just vintage, right? But it was actually pretty cool to watch. I think it'd be miserable. It's a miserable format. If you had to watch it all the time, but it's neat.
Every so often, it's nice to add a little spice to your life.
And then there was the invitational, normal, modern, standard split.
Yeah, taken down by Infect.
Keeping out the rabble.
What were they playing in standard? The winner?
I'm gonna find that out right now.
I don't know what they were playing in standard, but yeah, Infect. That's a deck you haven't seen in a hot minute, eh?
Mono red aggro. Man, mono red just went.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was the Barrich.
Yeah.
Aaron Barrich with his dumb hat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, mono red and Infect.
Sweet hat.
Yeah,
got a game plan.
Yeah. He had a plan at this.
Maybe he heard that guy's Infect comment about when you're playing mono red, each mountain you draw is a poison counter,
and he
thought he'd just run it back.
Yeah. Each land you draw.
He actually had a really cool sideboard plan in his deck. Let me just pull it up here so you guys can see it.
The four guys
to St. Traft. Yeah, I remember watching this on coverage.
Yeah. I watched some
pretty good
on people with it.
Yeah. Yeah, it was pretty good. I mean, hitting someone with the guys to St. Traft is basically Infect counters. You know what I mean? Their life total's going down in 4 shots.
Yeah. So I thought that was really cool. Obviously, it worked out for him. Infect hasn't really done anything in Modern.
4 blossoming defense in this list.
Yeah. We haven't seen Infect put up results at all recently. It just kind of dropped off the face of the earth.
I mean, decks
Like, what do you think his reasoning was for playing Infect? Like,
being able to play 4 Vines of Vastwood and 4 blossoming defense.
Sure,
I
but like,
guarantee you.
but
I
like,
mean,
if you're expecting,
this guy plays Infect like constantly in Modern, so that's probably why. And I mean, this just kind of proves our old point that you could just play whatever the hell you want in Modern and still win.
You just have to know your deck. You have to know the matchups, and you have to be prepared.
because my first reaction was like, I don't know how this matchup versus humans is or anything, but like Mardu Pyromancer had kind of been the star of the last few events, and like, I don't think Infect wants to play against Lingering Souls, but
Nope.
No,
They don't want to play against
terrible.
that. They can't. They don't want to play against that deck at all.
yeah. So
Like, that deck is-
that's why it seemed like a bit of a weird choice, but I guess
Like getting your Inkmoth Nexus Blood Moon is a beating. They play like Bolt
or
Push.
Colgan's Command.
Like they just like there's just a bunch of cards that they come up the board with like a bunch of dumb tokens. Like they don't even need removal spells. Like
Yeah, like from what I saw when he played against Mardu Pyromancer, he was bringing in these Shaper Sanctuaries and the Geist of Saint Traft.
and he had Shaper Sanctuaries in his board. Man, the deck looks crazy.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Pretty cool sideboard card. So what else was the top 8 again for Modern? I'm trying to remember. Can you go back on this? But like, yeah, it's I know Zach Elsick lost in the finals. He was playing the Ironworks combo, which that's got to be a miserable matchup. I don't think he had a snowball's chance in hell to win that.
Probably not.
I mean, yeah, deck's never beating Infect in a billion years.
Well, how fast is Ironworks? It's like a turn 4 combo.
It's best, basically, it feels like.
So if your Infect opponent stumbles,
If they have a heart attack.
yeah. But as soon as they know, like, you can't interact with them. They just get to go all in every turn.
They draw
Right,
extra
they just
cards.
get to pop off and become immense you immediately and kill you.
Yeah.
They draw a couple fetch lands and dude, you're dead. They just need like a couple fetch lands and like
Right on.
they just game 1 just like waste their Vines and Blossoming defense to get to become immense. Like I just don't understand how you ever win. So that's a bad matchup. Hollow 1, yeah. Affinity, and seeing that.
This mono green devotion deck that come in 8th was sweet.
Yeah, this is a deck I was telling you that like Michael Jacobs played like different versions of Mono Green Devotion forever on stream, and he was like convinced the deck was actually pretty good. This is like a classic Modern top 8 that you can play whatever you want.
Yeah.
Man, Acidic Slime.
Yeah, this deck was actually sweet to watch on coverage because the commentators were talking, and like he had a Summoner's Pact in hand, and he's like, "Oh, I've played a lot of Amulet Bloom. Like you packed for Titan, and like you can get Nykthos, and then like the next turn you can like do whatever." And then the guy just like packs for Craterhoof Behemoth and kills his opponent, and they're like, "Oh, that's good too."
Yeah,
Jeez, this deck looks nuts.
yeah, it's a sweet deck.
Plays Blood Moon as well on the sideboard, man.
Yeah.
And Worship.
Yeah, no, it's a sweet deck because they have Utopia Sprawl.
This is wild.
Yeah, no, it's a sweet deck. Oath-of-Nissa is really good in this deck. Like it's actually a sweet deck. I think it's cool.
Nice. I like it.
Standard was pretty wild too. Like, so because this event wasn't just a standard event, like you don't get the exact information that we would normally have, right? Or I guess like team events were always like, ugh, you don't know if the standard deck was actually great. However, Star City Games posted all the deck lists that went 7-1 or better.
Yeah.
So like we actually know, and it's funny because like a lot of the people in the top 8 for standard, right? It's like mono red aggro, red black aggro. You know, like,
Yeah.
they didn't actually do the best though in the standard portion of the tournament.
No, I looked at these lists too.
They won from Modern. Like they top 8'd on the back of Modern performances, not on standard, because this was a tournament where Esper control and Esper mid-range decks annihilated standard. And this is something Cam and I have been advocating as the control deck of choice, one that plays Vraska's Contempts and Fatal Pushes.
Yeah, it makes sense that like one archetype is like kind of very clearly won the slot of best deck in standard. And there are a bunch of powerful answers that are good against it. So the control deck tailored to beat that does well. That makes sense. You're trying to play your Chandras and your Phoenixes, you just play 4 Contempts and you push the heart and then do whatever else you want.
Yeah.
As long as it's not in mono black. Don't play mono black.
The mono black control deck I don't think is great. But
No.
Yeah, this was a tournament dominated by black and blue cards.
Yeah.
You know, so it's interesting to see. Whereas if we flip it over to Grand Prix Copenhagen,
Bit of a different story over there.
it looks like 2 weeks ago or 3. It looks like a GP that happened pre-Pro Tour.
Yeah.
It looks like Grand Prix. What was that Grand Prix?
Birmingham?
Birmingham. It
Yeah,
looks like
it
Grand
does,
Prix
yeah.
Birmingham from before the Pro Tour. It's 6 red decks, different mono red and red black, and then 2 blue-white control lists.
Yep.
Which
Yeah.
is basically Birmingham's switch out a green-black snake for a blue-white control.
Yeah, Approach putting a deck into the top 8 too.
Yeah.
Which we just haven't seen at all.
It's been a while. I said to Cam, I don't think Approach is actually that bad. I think it's worse in the blue-white mirrors, but if you expect to just play against red decks, Approach is fine.
Mm-hmm.
Approach is actually quite good versus the red-black decks. It just closes the game so they can't, and gains a bunch of life. Like
it's kind of funny. It closes the game faster to say that, but it does.
It does. Then the no-win condition to Fairy. So yeah. But I feel like, and I'm willing to be wrong here, that this GP was a bit behind the metagame though.
It's weird, yeah.
Because I feel like if you look at the Moto mocks event from this weekend, the tournaments from Moto, the SCG, you're getting a more realistic snapshot of where Standard's moving, which is black and blue cards, right? Like we see a huge rise in blue-black mid-range.
Yeah, lots of it.
I played against a guy at the RPTQ whose version I really liked. He cut Gifted Aetherborns, which is a card I've been down on. He wasn't playing Ballista and he wasn't playing Karns, which some of the lists had previously, which I complained about. He was playing Kitesail Freebooter.
I like that.
Which great with Scarab God.
Yep.
Great in general. It was very good. His list was quite good, and so yeah, I enjoyed his list. So
I've been seeing a lot more black decks online starting to play Seeker Squire as well.
Yeah, mono black decks, right? Like playing it as well.
Yeah, I've been seeing blue-black lists playing it too. Because, like, Explore isn't irrelevant. And a 2-mana 2/3.
No, 2-mana 2/3 is great.
Yeah.
That's better than Gifted Aetherborn, in my opinion, in a lot of matchups. Maybe not in strictly the mono-red matchup.
Well, Gifted Aetherborn is a 2-mana 2/3.
Right. No, I know. But I'm saying
it
it's the better
your draws at all.
Yeah, it doesn't smooth your draws. It's not the better 2-mana 2/3 is what I'm saying. Like,
Okay.
In most matchups, like except for red aggro.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I think in almost every other matchup, Seeker Squire is probably better. And Seeker Squire is still fine against mono red.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that I was saying to Cam, I think and Benson actually at one point that I wouldn't be surprised if blue black or like those kind of mid-rangey decks become the quote unquote best deck.
Yeah. It's hard to say because mono red and red black are still out here just crushing tournaments.
They're not going anywhere, but they really underperformed at the Invitational, which is surprising.
Yeah. Yeah.
On the 7-1 list.
Yeah. They underperformed in the standard tournaments.
In the standard tournament, which is
sure
they can top 8 off the back of their modern, but that's irrelevant.
Mm-hmm.
They still did fine. And I guess by underperform, they weren't the only decks.
Yeah.
It's like what I should clarify. Like, I'm not saying red or chain whirler decks like red black are not good. I'm not saying that. They're still insane. They're still tier 1.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm saying is we might be beginning to see other decks move towards tier 1 contention.
Yeah.
Because all these other decks have been tier 2.
Yeah.
Right? Like all of them.
Definitely. Tier 2 and standard right now is very, very deep.
It's everything that isn't red black chain whirler, basically.
Yeah.
Or mono red chain whirler.
Yeah. But it's everything that isn't chain whirler.
But I think that it won't be long before we start to see tuning and refining that moves a deck towards a tier 1.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I definitely agree. But yeah, again, we're kind of with the Invitational. We're kind of at that point where that we were stuck in before. That it's a multi-format event. Kind of, you can't really look at the results of that the same way you can't really judge team event.
We can look at the top 8, but we can look at the standard performing 7-1 or better deck lists at least, and say, okay, well, these decks, which was majority Esper.
Yeah, a lot of Esper decks. Yeah,
which is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Like even a mid-range deck, there was a deck that was just. Did you see
that
it was
one? Like it had Knights and History Benalia.
It had like black and white Knight.
Yeah.
History Benalia.
Yeah.
Scarab God, like torrential. Like I don't know. It was like
it's kind of all over the place.
JD and Comparance too. She 7-1'd with the weirdest blue-black mid-range deck I've ever seen. Of all the lists I've seen, it was like one of Ballista.
Yeah.
Like a bunch of weird one-ofs. Like
I can't
bizarre
remember.
card choices, bizarre sideboard. Like, but
doing something right though.
Yeah, 7-1.
Yeah.
At the Invitational, right? Like, and a lot of people joke about how difficult the Invitational is. So
yeah.
But they kind of it's funny. Like throughout coverage at the Invitational, this for once SCG coverage actually annoyed me. And maybe it was probably Todd Anderson's fault. They kept being like, "Oh, stupid chain whirler, like it's everywhere and just the menace of the format, just beating everyone." And it was like, but that was like,
Is it though?
but it wasn't the story from your tournament. You should have
Yeah.
told the real story, which is like, Esper is doing very, very well,
Mm-hmm.
right? And like, look at these decks that are trying to adapt and answer. That's way more interesting of a narrative, and I think that is where Standard's going.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, we're going to see chain whirler forever. This
Yep.
the truth of the world we live in.
Yeah.
And when we get to talking with Benson about the RPTQ, you'll see like every single person at the RPTQ played a chain whirler deck.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like
Yeah.
I think everyone just sort of accepted that the card it's not just chain whirler. It's like red.
Yeah. As a whole, like Chain Whirler does a lot to warp the metagame, but I mean, is it as offensive as a card like Hazaret?
Chandra.
Yeah.
Chandra's obnoxious.
It's just the deck has
Glorybringer.
It's the new flashy card that everyone is overreacting to, and so people think it's the big culprit, right? Like,
But it's the whole deck. It's just the whole color.
Mhm.
it's this weird thing of like all these X1s and all these cards that like people want to play, but they quote unquote can't because of Chain Whirler. These cards would have still lost to Chandra Hazaret Phoenix. They just more obviously lose to Chain Whirler.
Yeah.
Yeah. All those red 4-drops are obnoxious. Red also has like just a braid and lightning strike, which
Yeah.
are
Yeah, it's just the Chain Whirler is the gasoline you're throwing on an already raging fire.
Right, like,
that's
They,
exactly
you
what
get
it is.
attacked with Hazaret and you chump with your 2-1. I guess doesn't feel as bad as they Chain Whirler away your 2-1 and you take 5 and you die the same way but a turn earlier.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, it just feels less bad.
yeah.
So, you know what's funny though? Like saying like, because like red is so obviously the best color in the color pie right now. It's not even close.
Yeah.
It's just actually like depressing how unbalanced the colors are in Standard right now.
Yeah.
Did you look at like what's the recurring theme from, I don't know, the Pro Tour, the Invitational, Grand Prix, Copenhagen this weekend? What color's missing from all of those top 8s?
Oh, green.
That's
No
not
green decks.
That's not a good look. That's
Man, green went from being number 1 to dead last.
too not played.
Yeah.
Even in the 7-1 performing better lists.
Green is worse than colorless. It's worse than not a color.
Yeah. Scrappy Scrounger out here.
Right, like,
Bowman.
yeah.
But yeah, like there was no green. I don't even think I'd have to go double check, but I'm pretty sure in the 7-1 or better standard deck lists from the SCG Invitational, there is not a single green deck. There's no constrictor. So I part of me wants to say, and this is something that'll probably going to come up in the interview with Benson about like the RPTQ, when Ben's like, you know, like green black, like never lose to red black. It's an easy matchup. Like I think it's Ben just a better player. Because like how come that deck just can't win?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if he's just doing something wildly different than everyone else.
He's just
is
a
doing.
god. Well,
But-
it's Bristling Hydra,
Yeah.
if anything. But like, where are green decks like at real tournaments? Like they're they're gone. So
I don't know. Yeah, I feel like if the deck actually was real and was favored as much as people say it is against, you know, red decks, then we'd probably have seen one in the top 8 by now.
I think it just, like, maybe it's due to the fact that a number of green cards, well, they weren't even a number of green cards banned that, like, fit the role that I'm about to talk about, but, like, black decks, white decks, red decks, we're talking about how, like, they have a variety of playable cards in sort of each slot. Like, you can play any mix you want of unlicensed Magma Spray, Shock, Lightning Strike, Braid. Like, white decks have a bunch of different removal. Black can play, like, Cast Down, Push, Contempt, Hour of Glory. Like, you have all these, like, different ways to tune your deck. What does green have? It has no options. Like, if you're playing Constrictor, you have to play Constrictors and Ballistas and Glint Sleeves, and there's not much room to adapt that deck to anything.
yeah, the deck is just sort of like, well, this is what I got.
Yeah.
Hope is good enough. This is the best I can do. You
Like,
know?
mono green Stompy, if you want to play a Galta deck, like, you play Blossoming Defense because you can't have your creatures dying, and then you have no room for any, like, you play Brontodon because
You have to.
you just can't adapt to anything. Those decks just have a thing, and if it's not good enough, they lose.
Yeah. They can't pivot,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Like they're just stuck on rails. This is what this deck does on rails. It's going to run you over or get run over, like, or crash, you know? Like,
Exactly,
That's
yeah.
it. That's all it can do.
Mhm.
Rip green, hey?
Yeah.
Also, the part of it is that what green, like 2 and 4 drops, let's say, or 3 drops even, are you choosing from? What choice is there? You know, it's like what you're saying. Like there isn't an overload of powerful 2-drops. Right now in black, we just talked about. We're choosing now. We're starting, okay, Seeker Squire versus Gifted Aetherborn versus Glintsleeve Siphoner.
Even those are pretty shitty, though.
Yeah.
Like, those
well,
aren't
Glintsleeve
even...
Siphoner is still good.
Yeah, it's fine, but, like...
They're not.
It's not as...
But those are all so much better than Green's option.
Yeah, I know.
That's so depressing. Because like a White Yoga's Green's option, Merfolk, Branchwalker.
It's like Branchwalker or Servant are the only playable 2-drops.
That's miserable.
Because Cub got forced out.
Right? Like, and we've talked a lot on the podcast about 2-drops being like one of the defining moment in the game in Standard, right? Powerful 2-drops really help shape Standard.
Yeah.
When Green just like, Branchwalker is not good enough. Like it getting pinged in response or just hitting a land and being a 2-1 and then dying to Chamberlain and never doing anything is like
pretty miserable.
And like, that's it. That's your option for Green.
Yeah, Green's best 2-drops are Llanowar Elf into a 3-drop on 2. But that's not consistent enough.
You gotta skip 2 if you're playing Green.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Green's best 2-drop is its 3-drops.
Yeah, like
so
any game that doesn't line up or that they push your elf, you're just behind.
Yeah. I feel like this is just like a design or like meta theory I have as well that like 2-drops are like if you have like insane 2-drops, your deck will be good. Like
yeah,
you know. And Sylvan Advocate was around and Green was the best color.
Man, that card was good.
Sylvan Advocate was around. There was a time when Farseek was around and Green was the best color.
Yeah. Wild, I know. That's crazy. It's crazy to think about.
That Scrap Heap Scrounger was around and aggro decks were the best decks for 2 years.
We're still living it, man.
Think about it though. Like Scrap Heap Scrounger is the best 2-drop in Standard.
Yeah. Heart is close.
Yeah, but it's Scrounger.
Yes.
Because like
it enables so much.
What was that stat we read too? It was like Scrounger is the only card that's top-aided multiple Pro Tours with like heavy amount of copies as 4-ofs since it was like
Wasteland, Scrounger and something else, some other land.
Some buzz
for Schadenport.
Yeah, Port. Or it was like one of the only cards to top 8 like multiple Pro Tours and heavy copies since like way back when they didn't know what they were doing and printed busted cards basically. You know what I mean? Like Scrounger.
Wait, but we're currently living in the time where they don't know what they're doing and they're printing busted cards. What are you talking about?
Yeah, exactly. That's like Benson in an interview is going to talk about this, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Scrounger, right? Like the 2-drops in Standard define what we can do.
Yeah, well, totally.
And Scrounger is obnoxious for that.
Yeah.
So Core 19 spoiler season coming up next week.
Oh yeah, there's a
we're already in the midst of it.
Spoiler alert.
No. They
that
released some as a teaser.
Oh.
And then said that the rest are going to be coming next week. But yeah, keep your eye out for 2-drops. Maybe they'll be green, probably not.
Doubt it. There's that black one, the rare black spell. That spell's going to see it play in every single format. The one they spoiled. So spoiler alert if you don't like spoilers, but it's like Infernal Judgment.
Yeah. 1 mana instant. Exile a colorless creature. You gain life equal to its power.
That's going to see play in literally every format.
Yeah, it seems pretty good.
I mean, in Vintage, it hits Shops.
Yeah.
In Legacy, it hits Eldrazi.
Yeah.
In Modern, it hits Eldrazi.
And
in Standard, it hits Vehicles and Scrounger.
Yeah.
In Standard, it hits Heart of Kirin and Scrounger. And you gain 3 or 4.
Yeah.
That's...
Seems okay.
Yeah, dude, that's busted. But yeah. I don't know. Standard's I think Standard's cool right now. I think like this whole myth of like there's only one die. You know what I mean? Like people dunk on it right now. And, like,
I'm still having fun playing Standard.
I think Standard is awesome right now. And we'll get to later like what I played at the RPTQ. It was great.
Standard is good. Once you accept that there's only 4 colors.
Yeah. Green
if you like playing green, if you like playing green, or if you like, I don't know, a balanced color pie, play limited.
Not perfectly balanced. That doesn't happen though.
Right.
That doesn't happen anymore.
Not perfectly balanced, but like not non-existent.
Yeah, I guess.
I guess we can move on to this interview.
So we did a little interview with Benson, who Adam and Cam played in the RPTQ this last weekend with. So we're gonna jump into that right now.
Okay, so we're joined by our friend Benson for this episode, who qualified for the RPTQ and brought Cam and I along as ringers. So yeah, I guess you can introduce yourself, say how long you've been playing Magic, I guess, and like, was this the first PPTQ you qualified for?
Hello. So I'm Benson. I'm currently working at Wizards Tower. So if you swing by there, make sure to say hi.
Jamming that
And-
plug in. There we go.
Yes, and this is of course where you can buy your singles. All right, so now that we got that out of the way, so I've been playing Magic since Ether World Pro release. That was my first event. I remember that, and I qualified for the RPTQ through Seal PPTQ actually. I know I usually don't like Seal, but it was just one of those days where I decided, hey, might as well try my luck and see if I could win it, and I ended up doing that.
Yeah, so it's a pretty new player. Like I know on the drive up you made a joke about like you just thought standard was 2 decks all the time because of what its standard was during that time. And all these other decks are like, oh my god, like standard isn't just ever 2 decks.
That was weird actually. I remember for the first time I had to think about what deck I was going to play because there was just no 1 or 2 decks.
Yeah.
And another big thing I found funny was this was the first standard in a while where I read the patch, well, not the patch notes, the ban and restricted, and there was no bans. You know, wait, you're telling me it's not normal for there to be a ban every single standard rotation? Nope.
So yeah, I thought that was a kind of funny moment. So you qualified playing sealed
Yes.
PPTQ. Did you? Okay, so like I feel like a lot of our listeners like would also be trying to win PPTQs, and I think a lot of players are. You know, like pretty much everyone
Can confirm.
right? Even besides like gold and platinum pros, which is a small group of Magic players, like everyone else is out there trying to win them. And so yeah, even though you didn't play a lot of standard. You still played a sealed PPTQ. Did you find that like you were just kind of grinding PPTQs and this was part of it?
No. I usually try to go to any PPTQs within, I won't say an hour drive. So that's usually 4 or 5 in the other area, not that many. But before every PPTQ, I always like to prepare by, either playing some of the decks online or just reading a lot of articles or just reading about memorizing combat tricks within the different colors and things like that, just to kind of prepare for it.
Yeah.
And I feel for anyone who wants to try to get into the competitive side of things, MTGO is just really, really valuable. It really lets me play a lot more against better competition, in my opinion, just more often. Or obviously for you guys, you can just play with your roommates or whatever. They're actually good Magic players. That works too.
I was joking at the RPTQ with a friend of mine, Vincent. You know, a friendship workers. Yeah, he was like, "Oh my god, I thought you were dead. Like I haven't seen you in so long." And then. Yeah, he said the same thing though. He's like, I used to play FNM, and it feels like it used to be more competitive. But with Moto and with people just sort of realizing, like, oh, I'll just play with my friends. Like, isn't the joke with Lucas Sale, like Lucas Sale's basement, like Mom's basement, the team name, right? They just test there.
Yeah.
And so yeah, like you were joking, like, how's your testing going? And it was just Cam and I playing games, right?
Yeah,
Whereas
pretty
everyone
much.
else sort of tests on Moto. But so that's definitely one of the ways to. But Moto is definitely like I think one of the ways you benefit from learning the formats.
Yes, especially since I feel like I have a lot of catching up to do to a lot of players like you guys who have been playing forever. I feel like I need to just be able to play more in general to kind of catch up, and Moto is definitely really, really useful because of that.
Yeah, it's just getting reps in, right? Like just
pretty much.
experience. Like it just goes a long way, and Moto's a good way for people to get reps in.
This was actually something that we were saying on the drive back because you were kind of asking like, oh, what are some of the tips for improving? Because RPTQ didn't go super well for us, but that was most like
Speak for yourself.
yeah, I got crumpled a lot. But like, yeah, at one point our advice was like, yeah, you just need to play a lot because, and Benson was commenting on this, there's so much going on. There's so much information to manage that you can't actually manage all of it. And so you have to kind of like shortcut a lot of it just by experience, like just by feel.
Yeah.
Like I've seen this situation enough that I know how this is going to play out. So I don't have to think about it. So I can only worry about the few pieces of information that I have brain power for that are relevant.
Yeah.
How much brain power do you have often? Not much. It's a limited resource.
So how many PPTQs did it take before you qualified?
I think that would probably be my, I want to say 4th or 5th one. There's
That's pretty-
not that many in Ottawa, so I don't usually like to go drive out too far for it.
That's
Man,
pretty good.
I feel like I've lost in the finals of like
You have.
more than that.
Yeah, you have. You actually have.
Yeah.
you only
damn
lose in the
it.
finals. No, that's pretty good though, and I think it's like it just goes to show that that kind of persistence will pay off in this system. Like for all the problems with the current RPTQ, PPTQ system, like I was saying on the drive up, right?
Yes.
That it just rewards consistency in playing in them. So that's cool to hear that like somebody on their 4th or 5th, like you have a shot at the RPTQ. Like it's a big deal. Like
it was definitely a really good learning experience. I really enjoyed myself, and I feel like my lack of experience definitely came to haunt me a bit at the RPTQ. Where although I don't think I made that many mistakes, there were a few key ones that lost me matches. And I remember on the drive back, we're talking about how Magic is a lot about a game of not making mistakes or less mistakes than your opponent.
yeah, definitely.
And yeah, I just got punished really hard by
There
good
were
opponents.
Yeah, there were a lot of ringers. at that RPTQ because even if they didn't win the PPTQ, right, people brought in their friends who were good players. So there was just like literally all the Montreal grinders we know. And guys who have top 8 at GPs, been on the Pro Tour, but that was every team. Like, you know what I mean? Like people travel from New York. Like,
do you guys know who won? Was it anyone we knew?
No, we left at round 6 or whatever when we lost.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, well, let's kick off a little bit of a talk about this tournament. So how exactly did the tournament go for you guys? Like each individually? And your overall like record before you guys dropped?
I'll let Benson Camp start on this.
Okay, so I guess I'll start off. So overall, we went 2-2-1. We dropped after on the 6th round because we just didn't feel like sitting around playing for packs.
Because it was playing, which we would have prized.
Yeah. Actually, payout was the top 48, and there were 50 teams, so you're guaranteed to get something.
Well, we just left
Participation prizes, yeah.
But like, it's fine. It's just a couple packs. Like, it's not a big deal. But
yeah, we figured it'd be much more valuable to dodge the traffic on the way home instead. So that was that.
And what was the individual records of each of you? So
I was playing blue-green gifts. Well, I guess banned since I had white 4 to be able to hardcast angels.
Yeah.
I think I went, actually can't remember. I think probably 3-2. Something like that. I actually don't remember quite well.
No, it had to be less than that.
Yeah, I think you and I both went 1-4 because Adam won every round.
Yeah, because I went undefeated. If you guys won 3 matches, we won 3 matches.
Right. We had 2 wins.
We had 2 wins, meaning.
And so you went 3-1-1 because you got that draw.
Oh.
That gave us our draw in our match, and I went 1-3. Got crumpled.
No, you would have went 2-1-1.
I went 2-1-1 then.
Yeah. 2-1-1. Yeah.
Yeah. But I went undefeated. I lost 2 games.
Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah.
I was having a bad stretch. I went to F&M like the Friday before this RPTQ and went 0-3 and then got a bye with mono red and then switched to red black for this RPTQ and then did not do well there either.
We thought that red black would have better matchups against. I don't know if we were right, but we thought having unlicensed disintegration was important. Basically, is what it came down to.
Yeah,
we thought that. It was a safety valve, like it was a comfort thing of, oh God, like what if they play Lyra's? Like we knew on the game podcast, people were saying like green white Craig Wesco might be really good. That's an issue, or like there was a lot of reasons basically that we were like, maybe we need to play unlicensed disintegration.
Give you a little bit more reach.
Yeah, so we did. Cam just got pretty unlucky. Like I watched some of his games where like he played against someone who was stuck on 2 lands. But it had just like all 2 dropping him like mono removal spells for Cam's like chain whirlers basically, and then just like drew gas and then drew lands finally and just like dumped the board while Cam flooded, So it was like screw beats flood, right?
Yeah,
stuff like that. So and Benson's games were like close. I think you can talk about them, but you got paired against like, bad matchups. I think a few times like. I think we played against more blue-white than we were expecting, and I think the game 1 for blue-green gift is not a good matchup.
It's generally not very good, but game 2 and 3 are supposed to be, I wouldn't say very good, but it's supposed to be on the better side of things, just because they have a hard time dealing with all the amounts of threats you can throw down, whether it be hard casting or eternalizing Champion of Wits, hard cast Angel, and board wipes don't really work that well against you because you have Godfarrow's Gift.
Yeah.
And since they usually have trouble finishing off, you get to 7 mana, hard casting gate is another, or gift is another problem for them.
Yeah, and you just sort of have branch walkers and everything to like beat down in the meantime, and you hold up spell pierces and negates or whatever, right? So like you can enact a tempo plan, right? That was sort of your sideboard plan for the blue-green gift deck.
Yep.
Was this, okay, well, I'll just beat you down until I can resolve something that matters.
A lot of times Drady Rangers kind of become rogue refiners, so it's actually pretty great.
Yeah, like I think the game 1 matchup is rough, but post board, like it seemed like it should be good. Except that we play against the 1 blue-white control player who had double the 4 mana pay, like the 1 mana artifact pay 4 exile graveyard.
Yeah, Silent Gravestone.
He's playing 2 copies and had drew both against Benson.
Yeah. The worst part is,
are you serious? Like I couldn't believe. Like when I saw it, I was like, oh my God! Like really? That's the pairing.
Yeah.
And it was in game 3.
Yeah.
They ended up drawing.
Yeah. He couldn't finish me off in the end.
Because he had no way to win.
Yeah. That's brutal.
Which, so like, I don't know why you would ever play the blue-white no win condition to fairy deck at this tournament.
Yeah, it seems such a bad idea.
Because team tournaments feel slower, right? Because everybody's talking about like whatever. We didn't really actually.
No.
We sort of made an agreement of we all trust.
I think that's a strategy you want to take in a team tournament.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think it worked out for us. Like, where it was never
really well. Yeah.
Like, the only thing we'd sometimes question is like,
Mulligan
mull this or not?
Yeah.
Like, you know, and there was one time where I had a fumigate on top and I said to Cam, like, do I bottom this or not? And he was like, yeah, you're so ahead, just bottom it. Just go for something better.
Yeah. I think the conclusion we came to regarding asking each other for advice was each one of the pilots is better at the deck we're piloting than the other two players because we practiced it, we prepped for it. So there's really not that much point to really asking for a ton of advice regarding piloting and stuff like that.
Right. I have no idea how to play the blue-green gift deck.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure I could play it fine, but like, I don't know all the ins and outs of matchups, and you do. And maybe you can talk about that as well, like your preparation. So like, you know, how much prep and like, what was your prep like for going into an RPTQ? Is your first RPTQ? What do you think worked? What didn't work? What would you do next time? That kind of thing.
So for RPTQ preparation, first I need to actually find a deck that didn't eat up too many slots. Going to the event, I knew I was probably going to be probably the weakest player on the team easily. So I want to find a deck that doesn't eat up a lot of slots. And a good friend of mine, Dave or Charles Nabel on MTGO, the guy who I won't say came up with the current version of Hollow One, was again promoting his new deck, the Blue Green Gifts deck, and said, hey, this doesn't eat up a lot of cards. Might be a really good idea for the RPTQ. So that's why I started doing. And I basically just grinded a lot of leagues. We had a small Discord set up for other RPTQ players who are also looking to play this deck at the event. And that was pretty much it. Just grind a lot of leagues, chat with people about what plays I think was good, and talk about sideboard and made a sideboard guide.
Yeah, you put a lot of work into fixing each card, a lot of discussion with other gift players, two of whom played it at the Pro Tour.
Yeah.
You know, you played it at the Tower Open, which you won while you split the finals.
Yeah.
So like you had a lot of preparation. I think that was really important. Like you were comfortable with your sideboarding, like that, and I think that's a huge part, right? Of like,
I think that's the biggest thing about, especially as someone who doesn't have much experience in playing. I feel like I need to make up for that with more preparation. So I would always bring a sideboard guide to any big event because I know that I don't want to lean on how should I put it? I don't want to have to lean on my looking at the board thinking experience. I just want to have something I prepared ahead of time so I could focus on thinking about other things and how to approach the deck I'm playing against.
Right, yeah. So you can just focus on your match and not
basically.
worry like, oh God, like what cards do I bring in again? And get your mind out of the match. Yeah, that makes sense. Is there anything you do differently for your next RPTQ or testing differently? Or
To be honest, I would probably have played more. I think if I had gone even more leagues, and I was already playing 1 or 2 leagues a day, so I was going quite a bit already, but if I could, I probably would have spaced out each league a bit more and just played more in general so that I could be prepared for just the matchups in general. Since I can definitely think of a few key mistakes I made that cost me matches, and I still feel kind of bad about it.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's in some ways that's a good thing though. Like you know what they are.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really important lesson for these higher end tournaments, right? That like I don't want to say people at FNM are bad because that's not what it is. But people don't just tend to care as much. They're not as invested when there's not some really high level prize on the line. People don't really think about their plays in the same way. People tend to just sort of play cards off the top and
see what happens.
It's like war, right? Like the card game. You know, just sort of,
just flip the top card, see what you get. Hey, look, you won.
Right. But these higher level tournaments, people really think through like each line,
sure.
and so I think it's good. Like one of the takeaways you can get from just like grinding PPTQs, if that's your goal, or being at an RPTQ, is okay. Well, what were the mistakes I made that I wouldn't normally have even really considered them as mistakes or thought back on them.
Yeah, for sure.
So maybe one way to improve at Magic for like listeners too is to like, I think we said this like a year and a half ago. It sounds lame, but like you don't have to be like rude to your opponents, but like take your FNM games a little bit more seriously if you're trying to improve. Like think seriously about winning.
Yeah.
Like even if, like I'm not saying that means you have to be like, you know, trying to angle shoot people or rules lawyer your FNM opponent. Like I would never ever say that. Like just play whatever you want, just have fun, you know, and everything. But practicing with a purpose makes you better, right? And I think we had a whole episode about practicing with a purpose.
Yeah, setting yourself up to have something on the line when you're testing. Like that's why I think leagues are good testing, because there's prize on the line. You've invested something to join that league. Or even we gave advice at one point of like, remember those testing games we were playing before some event in like a hotel room?
Yes.
And I was getting stomped. I was like, OX.
And we put
candy on the line, and I just started stomping you.
Because Cam just didn't care.
Yeah, we each bought some candy, and then like, if I beat him, I got his candy, and I crumpled him.
Cam loves candy. Like,
or put like $1 on the line if you're playing between friends or something. Like,
yeah, and he was playing like he didn't care, and we were testing before, and I could tell. I was like, all right, we're going to put something on the line.
Yeah,
and it like woke him up, you know, because a lot of people, to them, testing is just playing games, right? But they're not really realizing that's what's happening. And testing means this sort of like, oh, I'll just play loose and make mistakes and then maybe learn from, but not really. Like you should still be practicing with a purpose. So I think League is like, I think that's why people say Moto is good, you know?
Yeah.
So
Not only are you just able to play more in general, there's something on the line, so it really helps out, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. So Benson played Blue Green Gifts. Adam, let's talk. Like Cam played RBs, so we don't really need to talk about why, because I mean, one deck slot on each team was either mono red or red black aggro.
yeah, we didn't. Every single team there was that was the case.
Yeah.
I didn't see one that wasn't.
But the other two choices were the ones that were up in the air. So you played red black, Blue Green Gifts, and then Adam. Talk a little bit about what deck you played and why.
I played white black tokens. A little throwback from last year at Nationals when we wanted to play this deck.
Yeah, so
We kept it under wraps for a while that this is something Cam and I were working on and actually working quite extensively on. We were doing a lot of testing just between the two of us, really tuning a list and trying to find.
And, you know, when we say tokens, we mean like hidden stockpile anointed procession tokens.
Yeah, I don't mean SRAM's expertise. I played Prison.
Yeah.
You know, like I played Black-White Prison.
And to everyone who's freaking out right now, being like, you can't play tokens in a Chain Whirler world.
So that's what made me play. That's actually what made me play. Ben's laughing, and I'll get to the story of why in a sec as well.
Yeah.
I was watching a streamer who I think is clueless, but very egotistical about their opinions, and someone in the other side of one of their opponents played a Legion's Landing, and they said, "Well, you can't play that card. It's just like so unplayable." You know, the Chain Whirler, blah 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 blah. And I thought to myself, well, I don't know, because it kills your 1/1, but if you flip your Legion's Landing, then you're not down card advantage.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the point of Legion's Landing, is to make a 1/1 and smork. You're not just attacking.
Yeah.
And then Hidden Stockpile is like, right, like what card is it trading for? Because the value I'm getting out of Hidden Stockpile is relevant. Then I said this to Cam. I said, like, is everyone crazy because they're just misunderstanding this deck, like deeply, about what it's trying to do, and which is lock your opponent out by making it so they can't attack on the ground and blah 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 blah. And we were like, oh, Chain Whirlers falter. And since when has falter been a card we can't beat in standard Magic, right? And for people who don't know, falter's a 2-mana red spell. Creatures can't block.
Yeah.
Or 1 mana, I can't remember. But yeah, you know, creatures can't block this turn. So the more I thought about it, well, I'm not really sure that's the case. So we tested it, and the real changes were the addition of Karn, because while the team, I think it was the CFB team, thinks that the blue-green Karn deck was the best Karn deck, I vehemently disagree. I think it's having Anointed Procession being able to minus Karn. Previously, the tokens deck had a hard time closing, just making sixes because of your servos from Hidden Stockpile.
Yeah, the deck was definitely very slow beforehand.
Now it kills very, very quickly. And History of Analia is the other card that's an auto 4 of. That is just insane, because you have a problem pressuring Planeswalkers in the old version, and without it in this version as well. And so History of Analia was a huge change for the deck. And so I went undefeated in matches. I lost 2 games.
What did you play against?
First 2 rounds I played against 2 Chain Whirler decks. I 4-0'd them. I 2-0, 2-0'd.
Yeah.
Comically. I mulled on the play and absolutely smashed my first opponent. So badly that in game 2 he scooped at 20 life. He just conceded. Like he was writing on the wall, like, well, I'm pretty sure he boarded out his unlicensed disintegrations, because of, like, game 1 he cast like 3 of them, or 2 maybe, I can't remember. Like, the game went very long. Yeah. In game 1, very, very long, and I knew I couldn't lose. The longer the deck goes, like, it can never lose. Yeah. And I just sacked my guy, so I couldn't take unlicensed damage, and he was clearly frustrated with unlicensed, and I wasn't sure. We had a Lyra in the sideboard, and I wasn't sure I wanted to bring it in all the time versus, but I was like, I guarantee he boards out his unlicensed. Yeah. And he played 3 Glorybringers, and I dealt with all those. Yeah. He curved into them, and then I just slammed a Lyra, and he conceded because he had boarded out all of his unlicensed, and that was it. And then the next Chain Whirler opponent, I just played my normal game, and I think I sat there and I gained, I don't know, like, I ended the game at I don't know, Cam, what was it? Like, close to 100 life or something. I don't know. It was really high. He just did it. It's just like he played a bunch of Chain Whirlers. He played 3 Chain Whirlers that game, and it just didn't matter. And they didn't matter, and he just got crushed. And both of them said to me afterwards, this is why Benson was laughing, you know, I just don't understand why you're playing that deck. Like, how are you playing this deck in a Chamberlain meta? And I was like, I mean, I don't know, man. Thanks for the match, though. Like, can you just, you know, I wish it was a single match. Like, do you want to sign this that I beat you 2-0? Like, you know, and then, so then I play another opponent, a control opponent in the next round who also he's like, I can't win. I beat him game 1 with like 8 minutes left on the clock, and he knows he can't win.
Yeah.
And he's like, I should have just scooped. He's like, I can't win game 1. I can't do anything. My deck has like 5 main board counterspells, and if any hidden stockpiles and anointed resolve, I only have 5 wraths. I need to wrath you every single turn or die at one point.
Yeah.
If he can't protect a fairy, which you know, when I have that set up, he can't. And he was just miserable. And then I was talking to him afterwards. He's like, you know, actually, like, I think a lot of people would say that deck isn't great in Chain Whirler meta, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm not, you know, and I was like, I just laughed in his face.
Yeah.
Play mono black control the next round. He immediately, oh, wow, you're brave. And like his teammate on the other table, oh, you're brave too. I can't believe you play that deck. And we just all burst out laughing at this point because every single opponent, right? And I'm like, I'm undefeated against Chain Whirlers. Like,
We were joking that we should have brought a bingo sheet where there's a free space, but every other space just says, you can't play that in a Chain Whirler meta. And even if we put selected, tried as hard as we could to not get bingo on that sheet, we would have still got it.
yeah. Yeah, it was ridiculous. Like everybody just told me how dumb I was as like I just crumpled.
Yeah.
And then I played, and then finally, okay, so then we played against the one kid last week who played Tokens of the Pro Tour. We lost to them. Cam lost to him. He was playing control, and he laughed, and I thought it was coming. I thought he was going to say, like, can't believe you're playing Chain Whirler. He's like, yeah, that deck doesn't lose to Chain Whirler. I played last week at the Pro Tour. He was like, I smashed Chain Whirlers.
Yeah.
And he was like, people just like misunderstand what's happening.
Yeah, he was on like the SRAM's Expertise Benelish Marshall version, but even then he's like, yeah, no, like anybody who has half a brain who is playing a token deck, either like you're not playing it if it loses to Chain Whirler in this meta. Like you've thought about this, you know it's fine.
Right, like I'm not an idiot.
Yeah.
Also, that guy got me with like an amazing unwind, which you wouldn't think is standard playable.
Or you would bring in against Red Black.
Right, but just as an aside here, he played his 4th land and passed, and I had a Pia, a Thopter, and a Rekindling Phoenix, and was kind of behind because I had mulled. But I top deck Duress, and I'm like, well, this is perfect because you want to Duress them on 4 and take their settle so you can attack.
Yeah.
So I cast Duress, he unwinds it and untaps 3 lands, and now I can't attack into settle.
That's so good, eh? I was laughing about it for a while when he told me.
Unreal.
But anyway, I can get into my deck choice. Leading up to Nationals, maybe, because we might run back the tokens list, but
Yeah.
my exact deck list, I think, was very refined, is very good with the numbers. I think the numbers are correct. We put a lot of time and testing into figuring out what numbers of each card we wanted, and we've tuned the deck pretty well. So anyway, I'll save like for the kind of intricacies of playing the deck and how to sideboard for another episode, because like we probably won't have time to get into it today because it's like a really difficult deck to play. Like after the RPTQ,
Yes.
Benson was like had watched my games and stuff, and a lot of people had, and they were like asking me about it and stuff. And Benson was like, "Man, this deck seems insane. Like you just couldn't lose." And I was like, "Yeah, I know."
Yeah, every time I look over, you're always winning. So I was like, oh, I want to try this. I go into the league, immediately start 0-2.
And it's like I can't play this deck. Like,
Yeah.
and the deck is not easy to play.
No, there's just, as Adam was telling me in the car ride home, it's just so many things are unintuitive. For example, one of the things I heard was about the deck was you actually have inevitability against control. So the only card that matters is Teferi. As long as Teferi is not ticking up and getting to alt level, you don't care. And that just seems really intuitive for especially someone who's more newer to Magic, where you have to finish the game fast, or control will get you in the end.
Yeah, like they can't win as long as Teferi doesn't ult. You're not going to kill you with a Gear Hulk.
Yeah.
Like, they just can't.
Yeah.
So like the only card that matters is Teferi. And hence our sideboard being just like
Approach game one's bad.
approach game one.
Well, approach
obviously.
was always a bad matchup
Oh yeah,
for
last
tokens.
season, yeah. But luckily, like a lot of people don't play it.
Yeah.
It's so bad that we played Lost Legacy in the sideboard because
That's what you had to do before as well.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's why we did it, because
Yeah.
we can't beat approach. Like I concede that we cannot beat approach with that deck.
Blue White Gifts is rough too, right?
Blue White Gifts can be tough. We figured out a good sideboard plan for it, which involved like Authority of the Consuls to shut off just getting hit right away and then having Wraths.
Yeah.
Like we played extra Settle, like I'm 4 Fumigate main and a Settle, a Wreckage in the sideboard, which was like incredible. I actually just, no one played around it because you're a 4 Fumigate deck game 1.
Yeah.
You know, and then every single opponent I played that I boarded in Settle just walked into it with like 4 guys, you know, just like walked into it and got Wrath and then just lost on the spot. So pretty good. But yeah, I wouldn't change the main deck at all. Obviously, the sideboard would be different because Team Unified.
Yeah.
So for Team Unified, though, like I didn't feel like we were too restricted.
No, not at all. I mean, I even got to play with my negates for my blue-green gift deck.
Yeah, because we didn't play a control, that typical control deck.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you guys, you didn't use blue outside of the gift deck, so you got access to all the blue cards you wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Spyglass was the only card I think that
Yes, that was
we were like I would have maybe played a copy of, but he needed them more.
Yeah, Spyglass is really, really important to gift deck just because of things like Thrashing Brontodon, Teferi. There's just so many good targets to name in the current standard.
Piping Needle's nuts.
Yeah, basically. You can even name Esken to the Sunkerbruin, and it's amazing.
Yeah, it's very good. So I was gonna ask what made you choose apart from like the recommendation? Like, did you like blue-green gift more than blue-white? Because I know you used to play blue-white sometimes too.
Yes, I think my first real standard deck was Jeskai Gift, so I just really liked the archetype in general. I chose blue-green gift mostly because it was just so versatile when I was playing with it. It feels like I have so many other ways to win other than just refurbishing out a blue-white gift, because that feels really, really fragile.
Right, yeah, you have like an alternative game plan.
Yeah, so not only am I capable of just dumping things in the yard for Champion of Wits, I can beat down with, I mean, sure, they're not the best, but still a 3-mana 3/2 or 2-mana 2/1, depending on what happens. So it's just really, really great because of that.
Right, yeah, because I think a lot of people would default to blue-white.
Yeah,
blue-white
blue-white
gift.
the refurbished gift is what most people think of.
Well,
when
like
they
for
think
our
of
listeners,
Galthros.
do you think the blue-green version was better or
I
is
think
better?
it's honestly a better deck to play at the RPTQ, especially because not only are you eating less slots in general, you don't have to conflict for the white cards with the blue-white control, Esper control, depending on what version you're going with. And also, I just think there's less Gothros gives hate lying flying around due to the fact that you can only have one copy on one poor person.
Yeah. Oh, what about not in unified standard though? Like just in general, like standard moving forward.
In general, I think people have largely forgotten about Gothros gift at the moment, so it's probably one of the best times to play it.
Yeah, I mean Zach Elsick top aided right this weekend, I believe.
Yeah, the Invitational.
At the MV, and it's probably and he was playing the more sort of glass cannon
the blue-white version.
But yeah, I think there's probably something to the resiliency. I mean, I remember at the Tower Open, I think like someone told me Ben was watching you play, like our friend Ben, and he just said early on, like Benson's going to win this whole tournament. That deck nuts, because of its ability. And we always sort of rank decks and cards on their ability to pivot, right?
Yeah.
That they can, if they can't enact game plan A, that they have something they can do for game plan B. Like, they play offense and defense. They can do multiple things, and it feels like, would you agree? I guess like that. From your experience, the blue-green gift deck is able to do that better than the blue-white.
Yes, much better.
Right. Okay, that's cool.
The only thing blue-white can do is just you can beat down with Minister of Inquiries and Hardcast Angels, and that's pretty much the only thing you can do.
Right.
Yeah, if they just save a couple of counters or have some graveyard hate for your Gothros gift, then there's absolutely nothing you can do.
Yeah. Right. Whereas the green version, just playing these green value creatures lets you beat people down.
Yeah.
Plus, you get to play Llanowar Elves, which seems like a
it was also an Llanowar Elf deck, which is really nice.
It helps you hardcast, gift if you need it.
Yep.
But also just being able to play a turn 2. What's the 3-mana?
Jadelight.
Yeah. Jadelight Ranger seems like a huge game.
Yeah.
Because that gives you just pressure to get to your gift. I think, right?
Yeah.
Any tips for playing the deck you want to give people if they're like interested in picking it up?
I would say always try to save your Ballista for key moments. It's really, really easy to be tempted to just keep dumping the Ballista to try to get it out as possible. So casting Ballista for 0 to trigger gates. But there's just so many things, which is why Chandler is good. There's so many things that are X1s right now that are extremely valuable that you have to get rid of. Or if you were playing against another mono green stompy deck, you want to save the Ballista for just pinging the Jadelight Rangers or against Snake 2. Before they start getting a million counters on them and you can't deal with them.
Right, with the Explorer triggers on the stack, you want to be able to shoot them down, so it's important to save your ballistas for that. That makes sense.
And another big trap I fell into really early was thinking that it's a turbo gift deck where you have to get out the gift as soon as possible. But I realized very quickly you can actually play a bit slower because you have value creatures on the board. And if you just wait a bit, your whole board gets pumped up by the Angel Anthem effect. And that makes trading in general just really, really great. And you have a much bigger board presence because of that.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's good. Yeah, that's a good point. I think that's probably a good reason to play the deck, considering creatures are sort of the most important piece of the metagame right now.
So what looking back on the tournament and how everything panned out, if you had to play it again this weekend, would you run back the exact same 3 decks, or are there any card? If so, like, would you change any card choices, or what would you change at all?
I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't change anything. I went undefeated.
Yeah, I probably would have played more, just be able to practice more. So,
But would you have run back
Yes,
gifts again?
I'll play the exact same 75.
Yeah. What about you, Cam? Do you think Arby's was red-black was the way to go, or mono red?
I mean, I think it was a very good choice for the tournament because I kept getting crushed by it. Like, the games I lost were just like, I have a glory, like, both me and my opponent have a Glorybringer in hand, and they drew a 5th land first, and then I lose.
Yeah.
And it's like, if I draw a 5th land first, then I win. Like, my games weren't close whenever I won or lost. It was just one person getting rolled. Like, that mirror actually seems really miserable. So I might not play red-black just because of how much I hate playing against the mirror. But, like, the deck's obviously powerful. I might have gone with a bigger red-black version because the decks I played against, if I was expecting to play against that much green-black and red-black, I might not have played Bomat Courier, gone a bit bigger, played like the Vraska Contempt main version with Glint Sleeves in the sideboard. And just like capitalized on the fact that red-black is trying to be more mid-range. Gone 25 lands because like missing land drops killed me in many games. And just sort of like drawn a line between mono-red aggro with Bomats and Kenras and stuff, which lets your Bomats get through. The falter effects out of mono-red letting your Bomat attack is something you don't really notice until you don't have them and your Bomat can't do anything.
Yeah, because they just play a Soulscar Mage and you just sit there.
Yeah.
So I'd go bigger red-black, or I'd go mono-red. I don't think I'd play this like middle-line red-black deck again.
Okay, fair enough.
That makes sense. That's something we've talked about in the past. Like, pick a side.
Yeah.
Don't
One of the
waffle.
things I've noticed is discussing seat order and trying to put your different players on different seats is almost completely useless. It might as well be random where everyone is sitting, I feel.
Yeah, I wanted Cam in the middle because I wanted him to be able to answer questions from both sides.
Yeah.
And I was more comfortable with Cam being able to tell you to mull or not versus me telling you to mull or not because I'm super greedy and I hate mulliganing. Like I literally like almost just kept an impossibly bad hand round 1, game 1. I was like, I don't know, Cam, this guy's on aggro for sure because like, okay, also importantly, my opponent was like, oh, I'm just here to smash. And I just looked at Cam. I was like, you're playing against controller green black. You know, I was like, this guy's on red, like red chain whaler aggro because he said that.
Yeah.
And he was.
Yeah.
And then my hand was like 5 lands, fumigate, fatal push. I was like, I want to keep this so bad. Like, and Cam's like, no. Like,
What, you didn't? You coward.
yeah, well, yeah. I mulled to like a pretty good 6 and just crushed him anyway. But like, that's a hand where like, I was like, I would have capped normally, but Cam was like, no, you know, because there's no pressure. And if he just plays a Chandra, you're just dead.
Yeah.
Like, you actually just lose the game on the spot. And I was like, okay, fine. So that's why. So I think someone who's the most sort of, if you're going to, I think seed order doesn't really matter, but if you're going to make a decision, make it on the person who makes the strictest mulligan decisions.
Yeah.
That's the only thing.
Yeah, I was thinking of seat in terms of which deck you're trying to be facing and trying to line up favorable matchups with the decks you're playing. And
Oh,
things like
yeah, you
that.
can't
I think
do
it's
that.
it's just impossible.
Although we did play against the exact same seed order for the first 2 rounds in a row, which I
Yeah.
thought was funny. Like we played against green black in the middle, Benson played against blue white, and I played against red black.
Yeah, Chain
aggro.
Wheeler.
Oh.
Chain whirlers for the first 2 rounds. Yeah, it was funny. This exact same seed order. The green black deck didn't seem great. I don't know. Cam just shrugs. I feel like you lost a close
it
game
killed
where
me.
he drew like triple fatal push for Essex and a bunch of creatures.
Yeah, game 1.
with exactly 4 lands and just so I mean
Game 1, I had 1 land and died. Game 2, he had 2 lands and died. And then game 3 was close and he had a bunch of removal and killed me. So, like, the matchup's fine. I beat my next green-black opponent and then lost the mirror twice.
Yeah. Like, I think the green-black matchup's pretty good for red-black. As long as...
We talked about this last week because Ben was, remember?
I
we
know,
talked
he
about it.
doesn't think so, but I think...
It's hard to say. Like, he's the only person I've lost to on the deck.
But he can't lose with it. So maybe if
I
the
don't
deck's
know.
played optimally, it's not...
None of my opponents had Hydras, though, that I saw. And
Right, that's the
I think the
difference.
difference is Hydra.
Ben plays Bristling Hydra.
Yeah.
That makes unlicensed a whole different story, so...
Yeah, maybe that's the key.
Yeah, could be.
I mean, the card's still just as stupid, just text proof, and I mean, you don't have a million energy to play with now, but still.
It's still obnoxious.
Yeah.
I don't know. Any other kind of tips for prepping for PPTQs? Just grind them out and play a lot, I guess. Hey.
Yeah, I think that's the only thing you can really do.
Yeah. We're kind of lucky here, too, because we have a lot in the general area.
And if you want, you can drive to Montreal, which is not that far.
Yeah, it's like hour and a half, 2 hours away. If you really want to.
That town in New York that's an hour away.
Yeah, with the SCG event, I forgot what it's called.
Syracuse coming up.
Yeah.
But also, there's PPTQs in like a small town, like right across the border, which is like an hour away. Like, I can't remember.
Doesn't matter.
But yeah. Just play a lot, I guess, is like, because that's sort of how you queued. Like, you queued fast, in my opinion. Like, that's pretty good.
I definitely got really lucky with the PPTQ too, so there's that.
I mean, you get lucky, but I mean, like, you played a lot and practiced. Like, and I think that's part of, like, a really good thing is just tournament preparation. Like, you were very adamant about tournament preparation. Like you said, you may have been sort of bummed out in some ways about your plays, like decisions you made, but that's just experience and time, right? Like, you can't help that, but at least like you made preparation, and now you can look back at any mistakes and say, okay, well, how do I improve? So
I think one of the ways I was able to learn the blue-green gift deck really quickly was just playing on MTGO and being able to review the replays. That really helped a lot.
Oh, you watched replays?
It was really hard at first because you start noticing all the dumb things that you did, but it really helps, just like any other game, sports, or whatever.
Yeah, watching tape.
Yeah, basically.
Something we've been actually very, pushing for people to do for a long time. If you ever get the chance to watch tape of yourself playing, or even other players playing, it's a really, really good way to improve. We had a whole episode about it.
Yeah. We did. I don't remember which one, though.
Yeah. The Envy one. Yeah, the Envy one during the 7 Deadly Keeps.
Oh, was it? Was that it?
Or whatever. I can't remember the name of our series. That was great.
Keep 7. That was
the
it.
Keep 7 series. Man, that was an awesome series, actually.
Yeah.
And they were all like the 7 Deadly Sins. Yeah, the Envy one was...
Which vices will we be inspired by next?
Yeah, the 7 Deadly Sins or whatever.
Yeah, that's what we were inspired by. But like, what's our next degenerate series going to be about?
There's also the 7 Heavenly Virtues.
We're less experienced there, but we could do it.
I don't think we're allowed to talk about things like that.
So we could talk about like whatever those are.
You came and named them.
I think it's like humility and faith, probably one. I don't know.
I don't know, forgiveness.
Yeah.
You got to be able to forgive yourself when you savagely pawn.
Yeah, or forgive your deck for screwing you. Yeah, see, it's perfect.
It writes itself.
Yeah, this series writes itself. So stay tuned for our future Virtue series.
Oh, man.
Yeah, okay. Any other, before we kind of close off, like any other...
I just wanted to ask Benson if there was any sort of general takeaways or sort of, I don't know, lessons about Magic that aren't like necessarily strategic things or deck choice things, just sort of like general impressions that the RPTQ left on you from your experience playing in it.
Yeah.
So overall, I really enjoyed the trip. I think it was a great learning experience for me, just playing at a higher competitive level. And I think there's a huge difference between playing FNM, playing MTGO, and playing at an actual big event, whether it be something like GP Day 2, which I still have yet to make, and RPTQs. And one big takeaway I found is that almost everyone I meet in the Magic community is really, really nice, especially the really good players. And this was explained to me when I was in GP Toronto, my 2 teammates from Australia, and they basically said almost all good players are really good people because the people you don't want to work with don't stick around for long because of how much information there are in Magic. You have to test, you need teammates and things like that.
Yeah.
So if you have to be really friendly and be able to interact with people, or else you're just not going to be able to get, the deck list or whatever.
Yeah, it's important to have like a community of friends and people to even just like borrow cards from. And
building
help.
a network I think is really great.
Yeah, that's a really important part of it. Yeah, and just have people to test with, to bounce ideas off. I mean, Cam and I, like, people joked at this RPTQ when I showed up. Like I said, like, oh my God, you're not dead. Like, I know Payne, like a friend of ours from Kingston, he was like, oh my God. He's like, I thought you were like living in the woods and like disappeared. I was like, well, I was for a while. But, and then he's like, do you even play? And Brierly, like Mike made a joke. He was like, because he was there with like Dan and not Ryan. He was like, do you even play anymore? And I was like, hey man, I'm undefeated today. And he was like, oh my God, I hate you, because they were getting crushed.
Yeah. Oh, were they?
Yeah. And then Dan was just like, yeah, well, welcome back to Magic. I was like, thanks, man. Because he's like, I expect you to like be smashing in our,
Yeah.
But
and it was great because I really felt like I leveled up a lot and just learned a lot going with you guys. So thank you so much for accepting my invitation and coming with me.
Hey, thanks for queuing for us, because I was joking, I never played, but I still love, and my point of the story was like I still theory craft with Cam all the time. I still talk to people about Magic all the time. So like, having that community is like really important, and I think that's a huge part of improving at Magic is being able to talk. That's sort of why we started this podcast.
Yeah, for sure.
get information out there. So it's always nice, like to
Yeah,
have
we'll
that.
pretend that's the reason. We just love hearing ourselves talk.
You have any other questions, Alex?
No, I think
Or Cam?
On that note, though, I have actually improved at hearing myself talk. It weirded me out the first 2 times I listened
Oh,
to
yeah.
episodes, but now I'm not bothered by it.
Same. I used to hate. Everyone does. Everyone.
Yeah,
hates
everyone
the
hates
sound
it
of
at
their-
first, but it's actually fine now. I've just come to like accept that that's what I sound like to
Yeah,
other people, and
I just sound like an idiot. That's fine.
yeah.
And I kind of like trail off and mumble.
Yeah.
Like I can't, you know.
So I do actually like hearing myself talk more than I did because of this podcast.
I'll take credit for that. You're welcome.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, if I
all
sound
the
badly,
Benson, you can listen to yourself.
yeah, it's true. Wait, if I sound bad, I'm just gonna blame on Alex for not editing.
Yeah,
it.
not doing the sound, not doing his job as sound guy. So I guess the takeaway from you would be just play a lot, practice, and,
and
try and develop a community to test with. And you even
Yep.
did this on Discord. You found
Yes.
people. You were this was something I think that is a good takeaway from your experience was
Mm-hmm.
you really worked at like talking to people, getting information, and trying to parse it all out, testing different
yeah.
things, testing all these ideas. You didn't just outright dismiss people. You were very like, okay, well, let's see how this goes. And like,
Yes.
I
It
think
had-
that's a really healthy way to approach the game.
has resulted in me playing some dumb decks like Mono Red Goblin Gift and Modern. It didn't. Hey, I thought it sounded decent at first, and I realized unless you have to nut draw every single time, you're not gonna get anything out of it. And then they pad through Combat Celebrant or fetch push of Combat Celebrant and just lose on the spot.
Yep.
But hey, it was kind of fun testing it out in theory crafting.
Yeah, no, that's an important part. So
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, really appreciate you coming on. And
Yeah. Thanks
All
for
right, thank you.
joining the show this week. Awesome. All right, so that's a pretty good talk with Benson. I think we touched on he touched on some pretty good points. Prepping for the RPTU, and hopefully you guys enjoyed that.
So normally we record episodes kind of just all at once, like one take. But because of like having Benson join us for some of it and not, we recorded that interview beforehand.
Yeah.
So if anything was like repeated, it's because we forgot what we said.
Yeah, we added the interview in probably seamlessly, so I don't even know.
Oh, it was seamless. Let me tell you.
But as far as content,
Yeah.
but no, it was cool getting to talk to him about. I just think it's useful for like newer players who are trying to figure out like, well, what do I have to do to win a PPTQ? Well, play a ton and get lucky and try and grind them all out.
Yep.
So thanks again, Benson, for joining the club this week.
Yeah,
All right, let's get to this blowout. We got a sweet one.
This blowout is nuts. I think it might be like the second best blowout we've ever had.
top 3 maybe.
Top 3 for sure.
Because one of this exact listener's
Oh, yeah,
other
yeah.
blowouts is one of the top 3 of all time.
Yeah.
It was the
instant speed fumigate against Sahili Cat.
yeah. Remember when he
Yeah.
had what was the spell?
Brain in a jar.
Brain in a jar, and he had it on
yeah.
5 and fumigated when his opponent made infinite when Sealy was still legal or
Made infinite cat fellow Dark Guardians. Yeah.
was legal. Yeah, and he
Gained a bazillion life.
and then he just killed him with
With Eighth of Spirit War.
Yeah.
Eighth of
That was
Spirit.
a good one.
that was one of the best blowouts of all time. But this is the same listener who sent
Yeah,
us
so this is
one
our
in.
friend Chad.
Okay.
And he says he was just playing a draft at like a local store.
At which local store?
Not sure which one.
Better be Wizard's Tower.
Don't remember.
We can say it was
It
Wizard's
was
Tower.
Wizard's Tower.
So he's just playing a draft against his opponent who's on white something. And his opponent plays an Evra, Halcyon Witness, the 4/4 that you can pay for, and it swaps with your life total and has lifelink.
Swaps its power with its
Power with your life
your
total.
life
So you
total?
can like just go up to a large, like gain a bunch.
Yep.
And on his next turn, his opponent like attacks or something. Chad says no blocks. And then he says, okay, well, like if no blocks, I'm at like 16 or something and you're at 13. So like pay for, swap my life total with Everest to kill you. And Chad says, all right, like in response to that, I'm going to befuddle it. Give it -4, -0. And I'll draw a card. And the guy's like, and like reads both cards again. And then they like call a judge, like, what's going to happen? The guy's like, oh, yeah, it's going to go to 0. And then you're going to go to 0.
His opponent's like, well, I don't want to do that then.
And then they're like, that's not how that works. And he just dies.
Got him.
It was so good. It's like, man, this card's busted. Yeah, you know what's busted? -4, -0.
Man.
Oh, yeah. That's one of the better ones we've had. It's an insane one.
Yeah. Just
It's short and sweet, you
yeah,
know?
it's like, oh, I guess I'll kill you. No, I guess I'll kill myself.
Yeah, like it's just so short and sweet. It's such a good blowout. Like, I'm so happy that it happened.
Yeah, it's definitely a good one. And yeah,
A friend of ours was talking to me at Tower 2, and he came up. He's like, "Oh man, like I got a sick blowout. Like it's gonna be the blow of the week." I'm like, "No, listen to this one." He's like, "Oh yeah, that's way better."
He just copies like, yeah, never mind.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, that guy wins. Not close.
All right. So thank you all for joining the club this week. Make sure, as always, you check out wizardtower.com for all your Magic single needs. If you want to get in contact with us, you can find us on Facebook at the Disorganized Wizard Club Podcast or on Twitter at DWC Podcast 1. And shoot us a message if there's anything you want us to expand on that we talked about on the show, or if there's something you want us to mention on the show. You know, we always like hearing from people.
Yeah, deck lists. Like we Facebook message people deck lists all the time, respond to questions about your deck. Like, well, yeah, just let us know.
And however you listen to this podcast, whether it's on Podbean, iTunes, your podcast app, leave us a review, rate the podcast, share it with your friends. Everything helps this podcast keep growing and bring it to new listeners. Thanks again. We'll catch you all next week.
Later.